The sun rose slowly over Pine Lake, turning the still surface into a sheet of soft golden light. Birds moved across the sky in quiet circles. The air felt cool and calm. It was the kind of morning that made the whole world seem peaceful. But Amir, a young diver who lived near the lake, felt something different in the air. He felt a strange pull toward the deep water, as if the lake wanted to speak to him. Amir was 22 and known for his calm nature. He liked exploring water bodies and loved the silence found under the surface. Many people in his small town said Amir had a natural bond with lakes and rivers. He could spend long hours underwater without any fear. His friends joked that he must have belonged to the water more than the land. That morning, Amir carried his diving bag over his shoulder and walked toward the old wooden pier. Anyone who looked at him could see excitement in his eyes. He had explored Pine Lake many times before, but today he wanted to go deeper than his normal route. Something inside told him the lake had something new to show. As he reached the pier, he saw his friend Raza waiting for him. Raza had a warm smile and a friendly face, but he never liked deep water. He came only to support Amir and make sure he stayed safe. Raza had a small notebook in his hand and wrote down the time of Amir's dive. He liked to keep track of every detail. Raza asked Amir why he wanted to dive so early. Amir answered with honesty. He said he felt a strange sense of calling from the lake. It was not fear or worry. It was more like curiosity, the kind that grows stronger each minute. Raza did not fully understand, but he trusted Amir's instincts. He nodded and told Amir to be careful. Amir began preparing his gear. He checked his oxygen tank to make sure the pressure was right. He tested his flashlight and made sure the glass was not cracked. He secured his gloves and tightened his belt. Each step of the preparation made him more focused. Raza watched him carefully and asked questions to make sure Amir did not forget anything. After everything was ready, Amir stood at the edge of the pier. He looked around the lake. The water was calm and smooth. There were small ripples near the shore where fish moved around. The trees around the lake stood tall and quiet. The whole place felt untouched by time. Amir took a deep breath, nodded at Raza and jumped into the water. The cold touch of the lake wrapped around him as he entered. He felt the sudden chill but slowly adjusted to it. His body relaxed once he got used to the temperature. Amir began to swim deeper, making gentle movements with his fins. The sunlight above created soft patterns on the surface. But as he moved down, the light faded into dim shapes. He turned on his flashlight. The strong beam of light spread through the water and revealed small fish swimming in groups. Their silver bodies reflected the light as they passed by. Some plants swayed below, moving with the soft water current. Amir felt calm as he continued his dive. He swam toward an area he had not explored before. The lake bed here looked uneven and darker than the parts he usually visited. The water felt colder too. Thick plant roots stretched across the ground like tangled threads. Amir moved slowly to avoid getting stuck in them. As he advanced, he noticed a large shadow below him. At first, he thought it might be a big rock or a fallen tree, but the shape looked sharp and structured. That was unusual. Rocks and trees never had straight edges. Amir's heartbeat became faster, not from fear but from excitement. He swam closer. The shape grew clearer. It was long, heavy, and made of metal. He pushed aside a group of plants and saw a large steel surface. His flashlight revealed a pair of strong wheels covered in mud. Then he saw a corner of the body. It took him a moment to understand he was looking at an armored truck sitting at the bottom of the lake. The truck looked old. Rust covered the metal body. Mud filled the wheels. Thick plants wrapped around the sides and held it in place like the lake had grown around it over time. The windows were dark and covered with silt. Amir felt a rush of questions in his mind. How did the truck get here? How long had it been under the water? Why had no one found it before? He circled around the truck carefully. The back doors were not fully closed. They were open enough to show that someone had tried to pull or push them. There were marks near the locks. It looked like tools might have been used on them long ago. The sight made Amir even more curious. He moved closer to the back of the truck. The water around this area felt colder, almost unusual. He placed his hand on the door and tried to push it open a little more. It did not move much, but it moved enough for a narrow opening. He brought his flashlight near the gap and pointed the beam inside. The light entered the dark space inside the truck. At first, he saw floating particles of mud and silt. Then he saw the inner walls covered with algae. He moved the light slowly across the back area. Something inside caught his attention. It looked like a box, not a normal box. It was large, metal, and placed against the inner wall. Mud covered half of it, but its strong shape was still visible. Amir felt his breath slow. His eyes stayed fixed on the box. It looked important, as if it had been placed there with purpose. The lake had tried to hide it, but now it was visible. He went closer to the opening and looked again. The box had a lock. The lock looked old but still strong. The metal surface of the box had strange short marks on it. They did not look like scratches from plants or rocks. They looked like someone had tried to open the box but failed. Amir felt a shiver that did not come from the cold water. He knew armored trucks carried things of value, but this box looked different from anything he had seen. It felt heavy even from the outside. It felt like it held a long-forgotten secret. He stayed still for a moment, floating near the back door. The silence of the deep water surrounded him, and the only sound he heard was the soft release of air from his breathing gear. His mind was full of thoughts. He knew he had to return to the surface and tell Raza what he had found. But before that, he wanted one more look inside. He brought his face closer and pointed the flashlight again. This time the light fell on something else near the box. It was small but unusual. It was something that did not fit with the rest of the scene. The sight made his eyes widen. His body turned cold. His heart beat faster. The calm lake around him felt different now. He wanted to blink and check again, but the image stayed the same. What he saw inside the armored truck left him pale. His hand shook slightly, and he knew he had discovered something he could not ignore. The lake had shown him a secret, and now his peaceful dive had turned into a mystery far bigger than he ever expected. Amir slowly moved back from the armored truck, his heart still pounding. This strange sight inside the truck kept replaying in his mind. He could not understand how such a thing ended up at the bottom of Pine Lake. Every instinct told him that the discovery was important, and he needed help to investigate it safely. He swam upward carefully, following the path of light from above. The water felt heavier the deeper he had been, but the thought of returning to the surface gave him energy. When he finally broke through the calm water, the bright sunlight blinded him for a moment. He gasped and floated, letting the air fill his lungs. Raza was still standing on the pier, staring down at him with worry and curiosity. "What did you find?" Raza asked, his voice trembling slightly. He had noticed Amir's unusual silence as he climbed onto the pier. Amir shook his head, trying to gather his words. It's an armored truck," he said finally. "It has been underwater for years. I saw the back. There is something inside, something unusual." Raza's eyes widened. "Underwater here? Are you sure?" Amir nodded. "I have never seen anything like it. We cannot open it now. It is too dangerous to do alone. We need proper tools and help." Raza felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had never imagined that Amir's quiet dives could lead to something like this. "We should tell someone," he suggested. "Maybe the authorities or divers who know how to recover things safely." Amir thought for a moment. "Yes, but we need to plan. If we involve too many people, the secret might be lost or stolen. We must be careful. This truck has been hidden for a reason. It is not ordinary." After a brief discussion, they decided to return to Amir's small workshop near the lake. Amir cleaned his diving suit and equipment, while Raza made notes about the exact location and depth of the truck. Every detail mattered because they would need it for the next dive. The lake was big, and finding the truck without accurate information could take days. Amir opened his camera bag. He had brought a small underwater camera for documentation. The footage he had recorded during the dive showed the truck clearly. The images of the back and the mysterious box were enough to convince Raza that Amir was not exaggerating. The truck sat in the lake like a giant forgotten secret, waiting to be discovered. "I cannot stop thinking about what could be inside," Raza said, looking at the photos. "Money, gold, or something else?" Amir shook his head. "It is not just value. There is something different about this. I cannot explain it. The truck, it feels alive in a way, like it is guarding something. The lake does not want people to touch it." That night, Amir could not sleep. The images of the armored truck haunted his mind. He kept turning the discovery over in his head, wondering about its origin and what could be inside the box. He knew the next dive would be more dangerous. He would need equipment for lifting, strong lights, and perhaps even a team of divers to help him safely open the back without risking the mystery. The next morning, Amir and Raza returned to the lake with a small boat and some extra equipment. Amir had borrowed ropes and a pulley system from a local diver. They also carried a strong waterproof bag to hold any objects they might retrieve. The morning air was cold, and the lake looked darker than before. It was as if it remembered Amir from yesterday and was waiting for him to return. Amir donned his diving suit again. He tested his oxygen tank, adjusted his fins, and checked the flashlight. Every piece of equipment had to be perfect. Raza watched from the boat, ready to help if anything went wrong. Amir gave a small nod and slipped into the water. This time, he swam more confidently. He remembered every detail from the previous dive. The slope of the lakebed, the thick plants, and the shadow of the truck guided him directly to the armored vehicle. When he reached it, he could see that the mud had shifted slightly since yesterday. It was as if the lake itself had moved something overnight. Amir anchored the ropes around the truck carefully. The metal was slippery and cold, but he worked patiently. He wanted to avoid damaging anything. He tested the back door. It would not open easily. The water had pressed it tightly shut over the years. He tugged gently, listening for any sound. The lock was old and rusted, but it still held strong. He moved the camera closer. The light revealed the mysterious box again. It was partially covered in mud and algae. Amir's heart beat faster. He remembered how strange and heavy it had looked. He reached out and brushed some mud away. The surface of the box was cold and rough. There were symbols on it, small and carved carefully. Amir had never seen symbols like these before. Raza called from the boat, asking if everything was okay. Amir nodded under the water and pointed toward the box. Raza leaned over the edge of the boat, trying to see, but the depth made it impossible. He had to trust Amir completely. Amir pulled the ropes tightly around the truck. The pulley system would allow them to lift the back slightly without disturbing the truck completely. This was risky. If the truck moved too fast, it could damage the box or shift the mud, making the contents unknown. Amir worked slowly, testing each movement. After several careful pulls, the back of the truck shifted slightly. A small opening appeared, and the water inside moved. Some debris floated out, but nothing else came. Amir felt a mix of relief and tension. The box was still there. Nothing had changed except for the small movement, which made the symbols on the box more visible. Amir looked closer. The carvings seemed to tell a story. There were shapes of people, animals, and strange tools. He could not understand it, but the symbols felt important. Whoever had placed this box in the truck had marked it for a reason. He carefully tried to move the box. It was heavier than he imagined. He could lift it only a little before the ropes held it in place. The box did not make a sound, but Amir felt its weight pressing down, like it carried a secret too large for words. Suddenly, a small noise came from inside the truck. A soft metallic sound, like a chain or a lock moving. Amir froze. He looked at the box again. The water around it seemed darker now. Something was inside, something alive in a way that made him tense. Raza shouted from the boat, asking if everything was all right. Amir nodded again, but his eyes never left the box. He knew that whatever was inside could change their lives. The armored truck was not just an old vehicle at the bottom of a lake. It was a container of a secret long hidden. Amir decided to lift the box slightly using the pulley system. He worked slowly, making sure the ropes were secure. The box moved a few inches, and mud fell from its edges. The strange carvings glistened under the flashlight. Amir could see that the box was solid metal, and it had been built to last a long time. As the box lifted, a small gap appeared beneath it. Amir pointed the camera through the opening. You could see the inside now. It was dark, but there were shapes inside. Shapes that looked like old packages wrapped tightly in cloth. Some packages were small, others large. They were stacked carefully. Amir swallowed hard. Raza, this is bigger than we thought, he said. We need to bring it up slowly. There is something important here. Something hidden for a reason. Raza nodded, gripping the edge of the boat. His face was pale, but his eyes shone with excitement. They both knew this discovery could change everything. Amir carefully adjusted the ropes. The pulley system made it possible to lift the box further. Every inch of movement was slow. The water was cold, the mud heavy, and the ropes tight. It took all of Amir's focus. Finally, the box moved enough to sit slightly higher above the lake bed. Amir paused. He let the ropes hold it in place while he examined the gap again. The water shimmered around the edges. The light reflected on the metal. Amir's mind raced with questions. Who had placed this box in the truck? What was inside that made it so important? And how had it ended up at the bottom of the lake? The armored truck had kept its secret for many years. Now, Amir had found it. The box was only the beginning. Whatever was inside, it would reveal a story that no one in the town had ever imagined. Amir knew that the next step would be even more dangerous. But he was ready. The lake was quiet. The armored truck rested beneath the water, and the hidden box waited to tell its story. Amir and Raza looked at each other, knowing they were about to uncover something that had been buried and forgotten. The discovery was no longer just a mystery. It was a puzzle they had to solve carefully. The secret of the armored truck was alive, and it was watching them as much as they were watching it. Amir floated carefully above the lake bed, his eyes fixed on the armored truck and the mysterious box resting inside. The water was cold, but he did not feel it anymore. His mind was focused entirely on the box. The strange symbols on the surface seemed to glow faintly under the light of his flashlight. He could feel that every mark had a meaning, and he had to understand it. Raza leaned over the side of the boat, still gripping the edge tightly. Do you think anyone knows this is here? He asked. His voice was low, almost fearful. Could this be dangerous? Amir shook his head slowly. I do not think anyone has seen it. The lake has hidden it too well. But yes, it could be dangerous. That is why we must be careful. This is not just a lost truck. It is a story waiting to be discovered. The box rested slightly higher than the lake bed now, supported by the pulley ropes. Amir examined the gap beneath it. He could see the packages inside the box more clearly. They were wrapped in heavy cloth, tied with thick strings. The cloth looked old, brown, and faded by time. Some packages had metal clasps, while others had wax seals. Amir reached out carefully and touched one of the smaller packages. The cloth was rough under his gloves. It had a faint smell of earth and water. The package was light but solid. He realized the contents were not fragile. Whatever it was, it had been protected for many years. He looked at Raza, who watched silently. I think we need to bring the box up slowly. We cannot rush this. If we lift it too fast, something could fall or be damaged. Raza nodded. How will we do that? Amir explained the pulley system. He had attached the ropes to the strong metal frame of the truck. By using a combination of the boat's weight and careful pulls, they could lift the box without disturbing the truck too much. It would take time, patience, and steady hands. They worked together for hours. The sun moved higher in the sky, but the lake remained calm. Birds flew overhead, as if curious about the strange activity below. Amir adjusted the ropes, checked the knots, and pulled slowly. The box began to rise inch by inch. Small clouds of mud drifted through the water as it moved. Amir focused on the light reflections. The surface of the box glimmered under the water. Each movement revealed more of the strange symbols. They looked like a combination of letters, shapes, and pictures. Some symbols seemed like maps, while others looked like tools or objects. Amir could not read them, but he felt they were important. Finally, after a long effort, the box lifted enough to be almost free of the lake bed. Amir stopped and floated, letting the ropes hold it steady. He swam closer and examined the packages inside. There were at least a dozen in total, carefully stacked. Some were small, the size of a book. Others were large, heavy and rectangular. Amir's heart raced. He realized that whatever was inside this box had been stored here intentionally. It was not lost by accident. Someone had wanted it hidden and safe from anyone who might find it. The thought made him cautious. They could not just open the packages without thinking. He turned to Raza. "We need to bring this to the surface now. Once it is out of the water, we can examine it properly." Raza nodded and held the ropes tight. Amir started the slow process of lifting the box. The pulley system creaked under the weight, but the ropes held strong. The box moved steadily upward, guided by Amir and Raza's careful hands. As the box approached the surface, Amir noticed something strange. The water around it began to shimmer differently. Small bubbles rose from the gap beneath the box, and the light reflected in unusual patterns. It was as if the box itself had a presence, a force that reacted to movement. Amir felt a chill run through his body, but he focused on the task. Finally, the top of the box broke the surface of the water. Raza helped guide it into the boat. The box was heavier than expected, but the boat held firm. They set it carefully on the wooden floor, tying it with extra ropes to prevent any sudden movement. Amir and Raza sat for a moment, catching their breath. The box was now in the boat, out of the water, and closer to the answers they sought. Amir's hands itched to open it, but he remembered the careful feeling he had underwater. Whatever was inside deserved attention and caution. Amir took out his tools. He had a small crowbar, gloves, and a waterproof flashlight. He examined the lock on the box. It was old but still strong. The metal showed signs of corrosion, yet it had been made to last. The carvings around the lock seemed to hint at a way to open it, but Amir could not understand them. He tried the crowbar gently. The lock held firm. He stopped and studied it again. The symbols were strange, almost like instructions, but hidden in plain sight. Amir realized that the person who had hidden this box had wanted only someone careful to open it. Raza watched nervously. "Do you think we should open it here?" he asked. "Maybe somewhere safe would be better." Amir considered it. The lake was isolated, and the box had been underwater for so long that it would be safe for a while. "We can open it here carefully," he said. "If anything happens, we are prepared. We have tools, and the boat is stable." Amir adjusted his gloves and held the crowbar steady. He inserted it carefully into the edge of the lid and applied gentle pressure. The lock gave a small creak but did not break. He tried again, moving slowly around the corners. Finally, with one careful lift, the lid began to move. Inside, the box was lined with wooden partitions. The packages were stacked neatly. Amir reached in and picked up the first one. It was small and light, wrapped in brown cloth with a wax seal. He brushed away the mud and examined the seal. There was a symbol, a small triangle with a circle inside. Amir did not recognize it. He opened the cloth carefully. Inside was a set of old documents, folded and tied with string. The papers were yellowed with age, but the writing was clear. It was a map, drawn with care. Amir's eyes widened. The map showed Pine Lake, the surrounding forest, and hidden paths that no one in the town had known about. There were marks for buildings, trails, and areas of interest. "This is incredible," Amir whispered. "Someone planned all of this long ago. They wanted to hide it, and they succeeded for many years." Raza leaned closer, his face filled with curiosity. "What else is in the box?" he asked. Amir reached for another package. This one was larger and heavier. He lifted it slowly. It was wrapped in thick cloth and tied with strong rope. Inside was a collection of metal tools, old but well, hammers, chisels, and strange instruments that Amir had never seen before. They were made carefully, each with markings similar to the ones on the box. Amir realized that this was not just a treasure. It was a set of secrets, a collection of knowledge hidden to protect it. Whoever had placed this box in the lake had wanted someone careful to find it and understand it. He carefully removed the remaining packages. Each held documents, tools, or objects that seemed ordinary but were special in some way. Some were maps, others were letters, and a few were small metal devices that Amir could not identify. The box had been a container of knowledge, hidden at the bottom of Pine Lake for reasons that were still unclear. Amir and Raza sat in silence for a moment, looking at the contents. The armored truck had guarded its secret for many years, and now they were the first to see it. The mystery had begun, but the real story was only starting. Amir realized that the next steps would be even more challenging. They had to understand the maps, the symbols, and the objects inside. They had to find out who had hidden the box and why. Pine Lake had shared its secret, but it was up to them to solve it. The sun shone over the calm water. The lake seemed peaceful again, but Amir knew it had more secrets to reveal. The armored truck had been the first step. The box was only the beginning. Amir and Raza sat on the small boat, staring at the contents of the armored truck. The sun reflected on the calm lake, but their minds were far from peaceful. The box had revealed its first secrets, but many questions remained. Who had hidden this treasure, and why had it been left underwater for so long? Amir knew that solving the mystery would take patience and care. Amir carefully examined one of the maps he had taken from the box. The map was old, the paper yellowed and fragile, yet the details were clear. Trails, small buildings, and symbols marked areas that Amir had never seen around Pine Lake. Some symbols looked like houses, others like strange machines, and a few showed points deep in the forest. Amir traced the lines with his finger, imagining who had drawn it and why. These places, Amir said slowly, they are hidden. No one in town knows about them. Whoever drew this wanted someone careful to find them. Raza leaned closer, studying the map. Do you think they could lead to more treasure? He asked, or maybe something dangerous. Amir looked serious. I do not know. This could be a treasure, or it could be knowledge someone wanted to protect. We cannot be careless. We have to understand it before we explore. They spent the rest of the morning examining the other objects from the box. The metal tools were strange, shaped in ways Amir had never seen. Some looked like instruments used for measuring, while others seemed like parts of machines. Amir realized that these objects were not ordinary. They had been made with skill and purpose. Someone had planned carefully before hiding them in the armored truck. Raza picked up a small package tied tightly with rope. He untied it slowly and lifted the cloth. Inside was a set of documents, filled with notes and diagrams. The handwriting was neat, almost like a scientist or engineer had written them. Amir read some lines aloud, trying to understand the meaning. These are designs, Amir said, plans for machines, devices, and structures. Whoever wrote this knew a lot. They wanted to hide it because it was important. Raza's eyes widened. This is incredible. It is like discovering a secret world hidden beneath our own. Amir nodded. He felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. They had found something that had been kept hidden for years. It was no ordinary discovery. The armored truck had been a guardian, and now they were the ones entrusted with the secret. After hours of study, Amir decided they needed to explore the areas marked on the map. The forest surrounding Pine Lake was dense and full of hidden paths. Some areas were marked with symbols that seemed to indicate entrances, small buildings, or tools. Amir and Raza packed what they could carry and planned to start the search the next day. That night, Amir could not sleep. He kept thinking about the armored truck and the box. The lake had given them a gift, but it was also a test. Whoever had hidden this treasure had trusted only those who could be careful and patient. Amir wondered if they were ready for what lay ahead. The next morning, Amir and Raza prepared for the expedition. They carried the maps, some tools from the box, and a small backpack of supplies. The forest looked alive in the morning light, with birds calling and leaves rustling in the wind. They moved carefully, following the paths marked on the map. Every step felt like entering a story from the past, a world hidden beneath the ordinary. Their first stop was a small clearing marked with a symbol that looked like a sun. Amir examined the ground and noticed small stones arranged in a circle. It was not natural. Someone had placed them deliberately. He used a small tool from the box to move the stones slightly. Beneath, he found a shallow cavity in the ground. Inside was a small metal container, covered in dirt and moss. Amir opened the container carefully. Inside were old coins and a folded note. The coins were old, covered in years of dust but well preserved. The note was written in the same neat handwriting as the other documents. It read, "For those who seek carefully, the path will continue. Protect the knowledge." Raza looked at Amir, amazed. "It is like a treasure hunt," he said. "But someone left clues for the future." Amir nodded. "Yes, every symbol on the map is a clue. We must follow them carefully. This is more than treasure. It is history, knowledge, and secrets someone wanted to protect." They continued through the forest, following the map. Each stop revealed something new. Old tools, documents, and small containers hidden carefully in trees, under rocks, or buried in the soil. Each discovery added to the story, showing them that someone had lived here long ago, carefully recording and hiding their work. At one point, they reached a small stream. The map showed a symbol that looked like a bridge. Amir and Raza followed the stream and found a wooden bridge, old but still standing. Beneath the bridge, in the mud, was another small metal box. Amir lifted it carefully and opened it. Inside were letters and sketches of machines, similar to the ones in the armored truck. "These letters are messages," Amir said. "Someone wanted to leave knowledge for the future. They trusted the lake, the forest, and whoever would find it." Raza felt a mixture of awe and curiosity. It is amazing to think that this has been here for so long, hidden from everyone. Amir looked around the forest. The trees, the paths, and the streams had kept the secret safe. The armored truck had been the beginning. The forest held more, and they would need patience and careful planning to uncover everything that as the sun moved higher. Amir noticed something unusual. One of the paths on the map led to a large clearing not far from the lake. It was marked with a symbol that looked like a star. Amir felt a chill as he approached. The air seemed colder here. The forest was quieter, as if it was waiting. In the middle of the clearing, partially hidden by bushes, was a small building made of stone. It was old, covered in moss and vines, but its shape was clear. The roof was intact, and the door, though wooden and weathered, could still be opened. Amir and Raza approached slowly. The door creaked as Amir pushed it open. Inside, the building was empty, except for a small pedestal in the center. On the pedestal was a metal device, similar to the ones in the armored truck. Amir recognized the symbols immediately. They matched the carvings on the box. "This is it," Amir whispered. "This is what the map wanted us to find. Someone placed this here to protect it." Raza looked around, amazed. "It is incredible. All of this hidden here for so long, waiting for someone who could understand it." Amir carefully lifted the device from the pedestal. It was heavy, made of solid metal, and covered in the same symbols. He examined it closely. There were compartments, small levers, and hidden sections. It was clearly made to hold something important. "This is just the beginning," Amir said. "The armored truck, the box, the map, the forest, and this device. Someone left a trail for us. We must follow it carefully." Raza nodded, feeling both excitement and responsibility. They had uncovered a secret that had been hidden for generations. The armored truck had led them here. But the true mystery was only beginning. Amir placed the device carefully in his backpack. They decided to return to the lake and plan the next steps. Their discoveries had been amazing, but they needed to think. Each object, each map, and each clue was part of a larger story as they walked back through the forest. Amir could not shake the feeling that someone had been watching them all along. Not physically, but in the way the paths were arranged, the clues placed, and the secrets hidden. The original owner of the box had prepared for careful seekers. Amir and Raza were the first in many years to follow the trail. By the time they returned to the lake, the sun was setting. The water reflected the orange and pink sky, calm as always. Amir looked at the armored truck in the water, now quiet and still. It had given them the first part of the secret, but there was more, much more. Raza broke the silence. "Do you think we can find everything?" he asked. Amir smiled, but it was serious. "I do not know, but we will try. The clues are here, and the lake, the forest, and the maps will guide us. We must be careful, patient, and smart. The story is bigger than we imagine." As night fell over Pine Lake, Amir and Raza packed their discoveries carefully. The adventure was far from over. The armored truck had opened the door to a world of secrets. The box, the maps, the letters, and the device were only the beginning. Somewhere in the quiet forest, hidden from the world, the secrets waited for the next move. Amir and Raza had started the journey, but the true mystery of Pine Lake was still waiting to be uncovered. The night over Pine Lake was quiet, but Amir could not sleep. The discoveries of the past days played in his mind like a puzzle. The armored truck, the box, the maps, the letters, and the strange device in the forest formed a trail of secrets. Each piece fit together, yet the full picture remained hidden. Raza stayed beside him in Amir's small workshop, quietly looking at the maps. "Do you think we can understand all of it?" he asked softly. Amir nodded, but his eyes were serious. "We have the clues. The device, the maps, the letters, they all lead to one purpose. Someone wanted this knowledge protected. We must follow it carefully. One wrong step could ruin everything." Early the next morning they returned to the lake. The armored truck rested in the water as it always had, calm and silent. The pulley system and ropes were ready. Amir planned to recover the box completely this time and carry the other objects safely to shore. Every detail mattered. They moved carefully, as if disturbing the lake too much would break the secret. Amir dove first, guiding the ropes around the box. The water was colder than before, and the lake floor seemed darker, almost alive. The box felt heavier now, but Amir's determination was stronger. Inch by inch, he lifted it carefully, guiding it toward the surface. Raza steadied the ropes from the boat, keeping every movement slow and steady. Finally, the box broke the surface and rested securely in the boat. Amir carefully lifted the remaining packages from inside, each one wrapped and protected as it had been for decades. The sun reflected on the lake, shimmering on the water, and it felt as if the lake itself approved of their careful handling. Once they reached the shore, Amir and Raza laid out the contents of the box. The maps, letters, coins, tools, and the metal device from the forest were all in front of them. Amir studied the device again. It had small compartments and hidden sections. He realized that the objects inside were connected to the maps and letters. Whoever had hidden this treasure had left instructions for the future. Amir carefully opened one section of the device. Inside were small documents and drawings. They showed more places around Pine Lake that were not on any modern map. Hidden caves, small underground rooms, and secret trails were all marked with symbols matching the box and the device. Amir felt a rush of excitement. They were uncovering the full plan of someone who had lived long ago. Raza looked at the letters. Many of them were written as instructions. They explained how to use the tools, how to read the symbols, and how to follow the maps safely. The letters showed that the person who hid the box wanted only careful and wise seekers to discover the knowledge. "This is incredible," Raza said. "It is not just treasure, it is history, science, and knowledge all in one." "Whoever did this thought of everything," Amir nodded. "Yes, they wanted it preserved. The armored truck, the lake, the forest, they were all part of a protection system. We must respect it and follow their plan." For the next few days, Amir and Raza followed the new maps. They discovered hidden caves near the lake, old stone buildings in the forest, and underground chambers protected with clever locks. Each place contained objects, letters, and tools carefully hidden. Every discovery added to the story of the person who had protected this secret. One evening, they arrived at the largest building marked on the map. It was an old stone structure hidden in a dense part of the forest. The walls were covered in moss, and the door, though wooden, was strong and old. Amir pushed it open slowly. Inside, the room was filled with more devices, letters, and maps. The air was cool and smelled of earth. Amir and Raza examined the room carefully. The walls were lined with shelves holding boxes similar to the one from the armored truck. Each box contained tools, letters, and objects that explained the knowledge of the person who had hidden it. Some objects were machines, carefully designed and preserved. Others were documents with ideas and plans that showed intelligence far beyond their time. "This is the source," Amir whispered. "The armored truck was only the beginning. This room holds everything." Raza looked around, amazed. "It is like discovering a hidden world. No one could have known this existed." Amir examined a large letter left in the center of the room. It was addressed to the future, to anyone who found the hidden boxes and maps. The letter explained the purpose of the secret. The person had discovered valuable knowledge, inventions, and ideas. They wanted it preserved, not stolen. Until someone wise and careful could use it properly, Amir felt the weight of responsibility. They had been chosen by fate to discover this secret. The lake had hidden the armored truck. The forest had protected the boxes, and the maps had guided them. It was a test of patience, intelligence, and care. Amir realized that they had succeeded. They were the guardians of the knowledge now. Over the next few days, Amir and Raza carefully catalogued the discoveries. They made notes, photographs, and sketches of the objects and documents. Every detail was recorded. The maps were studied thoroughly. The letters were read and stored carefully. The tools and devices were handled with respect. Amir realized that the knowledge contained solutions, designs, and ideas that could be useful for generations. The discoveries were not dangerous, but they were valuable. They could change lives if used wisely. Amir and Raza understood that they must protect the secret, just as the original owner had done. One morning, they returned to the lake to inspect the armored truck. Amir looked at it with new understanding. The truck had served its purpose. It had hidden the box, preserved the secret, and guided the careful seekers. Amir touched the metal lightly. The lake was calm, reflecting the sun in sparkling patterns. He felt a quiet gratitude toward the lake for keeping the secret safe. "This truck was more than metal," Amir said. "It was the first guardian. Without it, we would never have found all of this." Raza nodded. "It is amazing. The lake, the forest, and the boxes, they were all connected. Everything was planned perfectly." Amir smiled. "Yes, and now it is our turn to be careful. We must respect the knowledge, understand it, and protect it." The next weeks were spent organizing everything. Amir and Raza decided to place the boxes and documents in a safe location near the lake, where they could study and protect them. The lake and forest remained their secret. They did not tell anyone, understanding that some secrets were meant to be preserved, not shared carelessly. As they completed their work, Amir stood by the lake and watched the sun set. The water reflected the colors of orange and pink. As it had always been. He thought about the person who had hidden the armored truck and the box. They had trusted the lake, the forest, and the careful seekers of the future. Amir felt a deep respect for them. Raza stood beside him, quiet and thoughtful. "It feels like we became part of the story," he said softly. Amir nodded. "We did. The armored truck led us to knowledge, and we found the hidden path. Now we are part of the secret. We must keep it safe and learn from it." The lake remained calm, and the forest stood quietly. The armored truck rested at the bottom, its job complete. The boxes, maps, and devices were protected by Amir and Raza, who understood their purpose. The mystery of Pine Lake had been solved carefully, with patience and respect. Amir smiled as he looked at the horizon. They had discovered the secret, followed the trail, and understood the story left for them. The armored truck had been a guide, the box a key, and the forest a protector. Together, they had revealed a hidden world that had waited for generations. And as the sun disappeared behind the hills, Amir and Raza knew they had done more than discover a secret. They had become its guardians, ensuring that the knowledge, the plans, and the ideas hidden for so long would continue to be protected. The mystery of Pine Lake was no longer a secret, but it was safe in the hands of those who could understand and respect it. The lake remained calm, the forest quiet, and the armored truck lay silently beneath the water. holding its story until it would be needed again. Amir and Raza walked back toward their home, their hearts full of awe, knowing they had uncovered something extraordinary. Pine Lake had revealed its secret, and the secret had found the right keepers. The adventure had ended, but the story of Pine Lake would live on, preserved carefully for the future.